Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to another episode of Islamic Learning with Masjid As-Sabur. I have my esteemed colleagues and guests here with me today, Brother Nuri Muhammad and Brother Khalid Mutaki. Brother Nuri Muhammad is the Strategic Program Manager of Advanced Peace Stockton, and Brother Khalid Mutaki is the Director of OVP here in the city of Sacramento, which is the Office of Violence Prevention. As we always do, brothers, we open with our Fatiha. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladhdallin. Ameen. So, brothers, finally got y'all here. It's been a long time coming. Been wanting to have y'all on the show for quite some time. Let's start with Brother Nuri. Brother Nuri, what made you get involved with Advanced Peace? What brought you to that fold?
First of all, thank you, brother, for the invitation. Thank you, Masjid As-Sabur, for allowing us in this beautiful facility. It's so wonderful to see Muslims come together to establish something for themselves.
Alhamdulillah.
So I'm proud of it. As far as Advanced Peace in Stockton, I was one of the advocates that wanted to bring the program to the city of Stockton. We were, like many places in California, subjected to a lot of gun violence among our young Black and Latino men. And I thought that after examining the program, watching YouTube videos and listening, that it was definitely a program that was definitely needed. And then a brother of mine who's also Muslim that was very familiar with the program, and the CEO, Brother Devon Bogan, his name is Brother Daniel Muhammad.
Okay.
He suggested that from my background in the Nation of Islam, that he thought it would be a perfect fit as a person from, I did not come from a military background per se, as far as the United States government is concerned.
Right.
But I did come from a military background of the Nation of Islam. So
Yes,
he thought
sir.
that would be a
Yes,
perfect
sir.
fit. So, and after I examined it, I prayed to Allah over it for a couple of weeks, and I put in my application. I was a little leery because Brother Devon had a prerequisite on his job application.
Right, and that's the background. That's
Right. Right.
having had served some time.
Right. You'd have to have had a felony to have and been incarcerated to apply for the job. And I didn't have any of that. So
Right.
I later learned that I was the only person in 12 years that he ever hired that didn't have a felony background and was not formally incarcerated. So, you just suppose that to the world going for application. That's the main thing that'll keep you from getting the job.
And in
But
this case, you almost didn't get
Right.
the job.
Almost didn't get the job because I had not committed a felony. So,
Right.
but Allah worked it out and started working immediately. And that's what I just thought it was a great fit.
Right, and that's more so assuming that you didn't have the street credentials
That's
and the ability to relate to
That's
the
right.
population that we
That's
serve.
right. That's right. As Muslims, we're always striving to be out in the community, in different neighborhoods, all throughout the city of Stockton. All of my young adult life, I've been Muslim by Allah's grace, and I've been working in the community that whole time. So I always had on every side of town, every neighborhood, at least the credibility to know that I was not a police officer. I was
Right.
not a Uncle Tom sellout or anything like that.
Right.
It was, as Brother Nipsey said, wasn't no mud on my name. No.
So you
mud on
had
my
that
name. Right.
you had that ghetto pass.
I had to pass, yes, sir.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes, sir.
My brother Khalid Mutaki. So your situation is very similar in regards to bringing Advanced Peace to Sacramento, correct?
Yeah, I think, we were one of those cities that had experienced a significant uptick in violence in Sacramento. And although we had a lot of people in the community doing some great work on the prevention side, we did not have a strategy. The city did not have a strategy for engaging those individuals that are at the center of gun violence.
So you would say there wasn't a strong, as well as the strong intervention program.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So realizing that, and as we saw, this was in 2015, 2016 when we started talking about advanced peace.
Okay.
And we were seeing a bloodbath going on between different neighborhoods in Sacramento at that time. And the community was asking, what are we going to do? What are we going to do as a city officials? So around that time, we had a stakeholder gathering, a summit in Sacramento. Mr. Bogan, Devon Bogan, was one of the keynote speakers.
Okay.
And spoke about some of the things that they did in Richmond and some of the things they were able to accomplish. And so after that forum, I had quite a few people from all different backgrounds come up to me and say, we need this in Sacramento.
Yes.
So that started a conversation with me and Devon that eventually ended up with Sacramento adopting the strategy.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. And for those of you who don't know, I'm the strategy program manager for Advanced Peace Sacramento, as you see here. And yes, we got off to a great start, I believe. Didn't really have time. We were kind of like something, as you said, what did you say about the frontier? What's that line you always say?
The last frontier?
Yeah, the last 14, but like you was talking about when the gold miners came and how they didn't know whether or not there was gold in California. You remember that line?
Is that they were the trailblazers? I can't remember exactly what line I used, but yeah, the forerunners. They were the pioneers.
Right.
So you guys were the pioneers of this work in Sacramento.
Correct. So yeah, no slight to my brother over here from Stockton. Advanced Peace Sacramento was established first.
That's right.
We were the first spin-off franchise from the neighborhood Office of Neighborhood Safety in Richmond, California. One of the things that I believe that one of the monumental successes that we had was the fact that we were able to have no juvenile homicides for the first year, 2018, after I believe it was 11 in 2017.
It was 9.
It was 9 in 2017. Mm-hmm. Still, one is too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, one juvenile homicide is too much with our young people. And so for that's one of the great successes. And one thing that I believe that, as you already stated, that Sacramento already was doing great prevention work. Mm-hmm. And the thing that we brought to it was the intervention. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering if there was a similar situation like that in Stockton, my brother.
Yes, actually, with Stockton, as you mentioned, following the footsteps of Sacramento, about 8 months behind. And it is no slight. We're definitely following in your foot. There's no need to recreate a wheel.
Right.
The wheel is already there, and you're following in the footsteps of Richmond, organizationally, administratively, and all the things that we needed to start up and do in Stockton. The foundation was already laid in Sacramento. So just as Sacramento has a senior fellowship and a junior fellowship, now we're blessed by Allah to have a senior fellowship, and we're just getting started with a junior fellowship. So our model looks as much to Sacramento as we possibly can, even though Stockton is unique and has its own constituency, its own different vibe. Every city's a little bit different, but that don't change your wheel. You may have rims on it, I may have them stock tires or whatever, but a wheel is a wheel. So they're all 360 degrees. So for the most part, so there was very much similarities in the cities in that regard. There wasn't a lot of things that were a lot of intervention that was successful. That was going on, and sometimes that the capital, the people's intention may be good, but that capital does not get to the person that actually needs it. So with Advanced Peace being able to provide the services and the needs directly to that person as they need it, on time as they need it, makes a big difference.
So when you say that the services don't actually or necessarily reach that population, I'd like you to just dig a little deeper into that when we're talking about serving the 1%, serving the individuals who don't necessarily want to be served, or the most difficult population to serve.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it's a far stretch from anybody who's ever dealt with social services or ever worked with social services, that the things that they offer may not necessarily get to the people that need it most. There's like a wall around social services that needs to be broken down. I don't know if you've ever experienced this. A young man may have, from a court order, he may need anger management. And when he goes to the anger management meeting, as Devon says all the time, he goes there cussing and he's angry, and they kick him out because he can't act like that because he's angry. So the same thing that they're sending him for, they're kicking him out for. You know, kicking you out of the NA or the AA class because you show up intoxicated, but that's why you're being sent there. So there are these walls around social services, around the fulfilling the needs of the people, and I think Advanced Peace, both Sacramento and Stockton, have done a good job of breaking down those walls and being able to walk people through those doors and really being advocates for them. That's what they need more than anything, is advocacy. Someone to stand on their side. When you talk about peace, in order to have peace, to advance the peace, you need justice. In order to have justice, you need a proper advocate. And that's all it is, to advocate and give balance back to that individual who's really been given a disservice in society. And that 1% that people call shooters, somehow they slip through the crack some kind of way.
Brother Khalid, what are some of the challenges that you see? And I want to talk about the media sound bites of paying criminals to stop shooting, and the problems with how people view the stipends, which is actually not a stipend, it's a life map allowance. But what are some of the challenges that comes along with people thinking or having the misconception that Advanced Peace is paying criminals to stop shooting? Like that's the sauce, that's the secret sauce to getting these young men and women to turn their lives around.
Yeah, no, I think it's, you said it's a catch-22 when it comes to the media.
Okay.
So you want to have some media engagement to help tell the story and get the word out about what this program is and the success of this program. But in Sacramento, we've had the challenge at the very beginning, when this thing was approved by City Council unanimously, and immediately Fox News dropped a story and said, City of Sacramento approves a program to pay killers not to shoot. Wow. And that was the headline, and I guess it makes for an attractive headline and sells papers, and gets people to read, but it's created a challenge where the narrative that's out there about the program is not accurate with how the program works. Right. So the stipends is one of 6 components of the program, as you know, along with mentoring, a lot of social service navigation, daily contacts, workforce development. All these things are part of the program that no one wants to talk about. A lot of times they only want to talk about the stipends. And as you know, in Sacramento, we went a full 12 months of our first participant being in the program before earning a stipend.
Almost actually 18 months.
Yeah, so the thing is, so the stipend is a piece of it, but it's not by any means the main part of it. I think the transformative travel,
correct,
and at the end of the day, the relationships that the team is able to build with these individuals, and showing them that we do care, we do believe in you, and just being there every day, showing them that love and that genuine outreach is what really is the secret sauce, if there is one, for the program. So,
no, and I believe that is the secret sauce, the relationships. And on a further note, I do plan to get our team in here so you can really get an in-depth description and a more vivid picture of what goes on between a fellow and an NCA, a neighborhood change associate, in Stockton, neighborhood change agent out here. What that relationship is like, the hurdles that one has to overcome in developing trust for these young men and women who have been betrayed in a number of ways, have been impacted the most by trauma, and so they have reasons to be distrustful. Even in so where you talk about having services for them and then abruptly ripping these services away from them. So that's something too that we're mindful of, and we don't want to do. We try to avoid any turnovers where you're bringing in different people. You know, those relationships are very, very important. And I just wanted to say, when we talk about the stipends, and I've admonished everyone on the team, everyone involved, that it's not even really a stipend. And I get when people hear the term stipend, you automatically assume a person just shows up and gets handed a check. And they have life map allowances. They have to set goals. They have to achieve these goals in order for them to receive any amount of that life map allowance. And it comes just like you have an allowance for your child, or for your person who's doing an internship, or whatever the case may be. It's an investment in those who are deprived and don't have those type of opportunities to have access to these services. And we're talking about simple things like getting a driver's license, getting your California identification, getting school supplies to get back in school. I mean, these are real basic necessities that they need in order to get on the right track. And speaking of the right track, I really wanted to make our theme today, especially since all of us sitting here are Muslims. We know what it's like to be on the right path, on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, but also what it's like to be wala dhalin, to be on the wrong path. And unfortunately, most of the population that we're dealing with, they are on the wrong path. So if both of you could just speak to what it's like to try and get a person back on track, to get them on the right path, and the hurdles of making that path attractive to them, when being astray is so attractive to them, and they're almost being assaulted with all these images of how being on the wrong path is the way to go.
You know, when you can make peace among two young people that society or this world's life have caused them to be at odds against each other, that's a great blessing. You know, the Holy Quran says, there's a surah that says, ayat that says, you were on the brink of a pit of fire, and Allah united your hearts, and you became brethren. When you can make people, when you can pull people out of that brink of fire every single day, they're on the lookout for someone trying to shoot you or kill you, and you're the one that you're on the lookout for, the other side feels the same way, and it brings this disunity and this division, and the whole community feels the weight of that. Just by making the peace between two people can spread so much in a neighborhood, it can completely transform the reality in which people live in. So it's a great blessing when we're successful. And so far in Stockton and in Sacramento, and in Richmond has proved it, you can establish peace. And what a beautiful thing, because people make profit when there's a lack of peace.
Right.
These are the ambassadors of hell. We're trying to be ambassadors of, a brand new reality, the kingdom of heaven on earth. So we're blessed to be those type of ambassadors. So praise be to Allah.
Yes, and I would add to that there's this always the misnomer where they think that we love war, and we're warmongers. And people, just as Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, loves reconciliation, people really love to see these young men and women squash their beefs.
That's right.
It's like you feel the joy throughout the community when you hear that two rivals have put to bed and put their differences aside and are willing to work with one another. And it just brings joy throughout the community. And people don't understand that. They don't, unless you have a bird's eye view or a front row seat, you'll never understand. Because again, and there's no attack on the media, but we know garbage sells. You have those things where people have a tendency to love conflict and they love competition. But at the end of the day, people want to see people go home to their families all in one piece, healthy. Not at a funeral, not at somebody's wake, or not standing at a crime scene with ambulances and yellow tape. So my question to you, Brother Khalid, is there buy-in? 2 years, we're almost approaching 2 years here in Sacramento. Do you think that people are understanding that? Do you think people get it?
So I'm gonna comment on the first question, then I'm gonna get back to that one.
Okay.
Because we was on that Islamic tip, so I want to
Right.
make sure
Okay.
make sure I weigh in on
Yes,
that.
sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
as I was sitting here reflecting as the brothers was commentating, and peace. I mean, peace is the essence of Islam.
Alhamdulillah.
I mean, that's the root of it. That's the foundation. That's what it literally translates to is peace, and it's one of the attributes of Allah is as-salam, the source of peace. So, coming into Islam in my mid-20s from Jahiliyyah, I know that was one of the most attractive things that I experienced. I mean, I'll never forget it. Was just the level of peace. I had never experienced that level of peace before. You know what I mean? When I came into Islam and since. So I think so. Peace is the main signature, if you will, of the religion of Islam. And so by us doing the work of being peacemakers, being peacekeepers, we are doing the work of Allah. So I see this as God's work. I see this as the cause of Allah.
Indeed.
You know what I mean? Because whenever you're manifesting peace, whether yourself, others, you talked about others, kind of the impact it has on others by you doing the peacekeeping. That is essence is the cause of Allah. Because like you said, people think cause of Allah, fisabilillah, oh, this is jihad, you know. Yeah, there's a time for that, and we get down if we need to, but 90% of it is is manifesting the peaceful attributes that Allah has manifested in our lives.
Most definitely.
So yeah, I mean, you know, that's the way I approach the work. That's the way I see it, and I pray that Allah accepts our efforts.
And blesses our efforts.
Yeah, and blesses our efforts. Yeah. So, but going back to the question,
is there buy-in?
Yeah. So I think that we have had some tremendous results so far in Sacramento that cannot be denied. But just like the Prophet, peace be upon him, you're always going to have your naysayers.
Yes.
You'll always have your naysayers, and this was like Jesus, peace be upon him. He was doing miracles, and people still saying he wasn't who he was. So you're always going to have your naysayers, and we have our naysayers out there. But like you said, we pointed to because people always want the data. Well, what's the data? And the data is only part of the story. I mean, the real story is the transformation that these individuals are manifesting in their lives.
Right, and we're saving lives.
Exactly. So that's really the real story. But the data is important, and it is showing a significant decrease in violence in the three neighborhoods that we've targeted, which is the North area, Del Paso Heights, Oak Park, and South Sac.
Right.
And you can talk to people living in those neighborhoods that can provide the greatest testimony that, you know, like Allah says in the Quran, the truth will smash the brains out of falsehood.
Right.
And so, you know, whether the data was there or not, talk to the people that's living in the neighborhood. That's really the story. But fortunately for us, the data is saying that, you know, gun violence specifically is down in like Oak Park over 50% over the last 2 years. We're going now on 21 months with no youth homicides, when we was basically averaging one youth homicide a month at one point in time. And so that's not a coincidence. And this thing is being evaluated by UC Berkeley, one of the best research institutions in the world, by the way. So you don't have to take Khalid's word for it. You got to take our word for it. This will be published in a well-researched, documented, probably one of the most rigorous research done on urban gun violence once it gets published in the country. And I've read a lot. I read it all the time. So this will be a very telling publication when it is published on the work that we are doing between the three cities so far.
Yes, and I've had the beautiful pleasure of going on some of the transformative travel with the young men and women. And it's amazing, like almost everything is a first time experience for them. From something as simple as going to Six Flags, Marine World, Six Flags, Magic Mountain, things of that nature, to a simple football game. You know, these are things that privileged children around the country, you know, they take for granted. You know, Dad, I don't feel like going to the 49ers football game this weekend. You know, I'm going to hang out with my friends and we're going to go skateboard. You know, these kids that we serve and the population that we serve, they've never been to a football game, and it's a first time experience, and it's an eye opening experience. I was I had the privilege of being with the governor, Gavin Newsom, when he signed one of the bills for the Cal VIP funding. And one of the things that he said that I'll never forget is that, all the work is great, the data is great, but he said the main thing is we're out here saving lives. And that resonated with me, and it's something that I'll never forget. And that's all it takes sometimes, is a life transforming experience to be someplace and to see something more than what you see on an everyday basis in your neighborhood. So yes, I too really think we're doing some great work in the city of Stockton and in the city of Sacramento, and of course Richmond, the city that we're modeling our programs after. And just like you said, a unique program. But I really would love to have you brothers back on the show, just to delve deeper into it and let our audience know, what it is and why it's so necessary, such a necessary component of intervention and prevention work, to have the right people to be on the ground and to be willing to come out and see. And like you said, Brother Khalid, to actually go to these neighborhoods where you can see the effects of the work being done, instead of just picking up a newspaper and thinking that you can get it. You can get the full picture from reading an article or watching television and seeing what a news reporter says about it. I'd like to close out with Wild Asr. Definitely a thank you, brothers, for coming out. Thank you, Brother Muhammad. Thank you, Brother Mutaki. Peace and blessings be upon you both. We're going to close out with Asr. Wal Asr, Inna l'insana lafi khusr, illa ladina amanu wa amilu salihati, wa tawasaw bil haqq, wa tawasaw bis sabr. Thank you, brothers, for coming out. Really enjoyed you. Would love to have you back again. Thank you all for joining us with Islamic Learning with Masjid As-Sabur. Juma is held here every Friday at 1:30. The first Adhan is called at 1 p.m. Be on time. Bring your wives, bring your children. Come out and get that spiritual nourishment that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give you. Once again, I'm your host, Brother Ahmad Hassan Ibn Julius Thibodeau. Love you, brothers. Love you, sisters. Thank you for joining us.